Okay, so we'll start that. This session I'm going to talk about image-based MCQ. Okay, so you can put the answer in your chat box. Identify the hernia. Option A, Ameyant's hernia. Option B, Litter's hernia. Option C, Richter's hernia, and option D, Gibbon's hernia. Okay. Okay, so all of you answered correctly. That is the answer for this question is the Richter's hernia. So what is Richter's hernia? Okay, so the answer for this question is the Richter's. Okay, so this is a Richter's hernia. Okay, we'll go for the discussion. What is Richter's hernia? Which is nothing but a part of the circumference of the bowel will be involved. Okay, so that is called a Richter's hernia. The typical example, okay, only the part of the bowel wall. Okay, if you take the circumference of the bowel, only some part will be involved. A part of the wall will be involved. And if you take the classical example for Richter's hernia is the femoral hernia, because you got the femoral ring is there and then you got the femoral canal. Okay, so the ring is almost, it was particularly in female, it is opened and it is patulous. So some part of the bowel, it is a part of the wall of the bowel will go into the femoral ring. And in this case, you don't get a specific features of signs of obstruction or strangulation. So what you will get, usually you will get only the features mimics like acute gastroenteritis. Okay, the patient will be complaining of abdominal pain, and along with the diarrhea will be the symptoms. So clinically, you cannot able to diagnose the Richter's hernia properly. Okay, but you should have the suspicious about the Richter's hernia, then you can pick up the Richter's hernia, and particularly that is very common. I already told that is particularly very common in the femoral hernia. Okay, so this is femoral hernia. So you have to think about in femoral hernia. Okay, what about other types of hernia? Okay, this is Ameyant's hernia, which is nothing but, as you all know, the content of the hernial sac will be appendix. And similarly, in Litter's hernia, the content of the hernia will be Meckel's diverticulum. And what is this Gibbon's hernia? Gibbon's hernia is nothing but hernia with hydrocele. Hernia with hydrocele is called as Gibbon's hernia. Okay, so I will ask some questions, that is just answer. This is question number 1. What is Ogilvie hernia? Okay, Ogilvie hernia, number 1. You can put the answer number 1 in the chat box. What is Ogilvie's hernia? Okay, and then what is Stammer's hernia? Okay, Ishnath is correct. Okay, good. Tamil is also, she is also correct. Okay, so we'll go for the discussion. What is Ogilvy hernia, which is nothing but you got the so consider this is the rectus muscle. Okay, consider this is the rectus muscle. Okay, and you know that the conjoint tendon is formed by the fusion of both the muscle, that is internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle. So where the conjoint tendon, where it is fusing with the lateral aspect of the rectus sheath, you will have an herniation. So this is basically, you can call it as congenital direct inguinal hernia. The defect will be there in this location in the conjoint tendon. This is called Ogilvy hernia. And this is Stammer's hernia is an internal hernia. So which is nothing but the Stammer's hernia, which is nothing but usually in case of CA stomach, an advanced case of CA stomach. So we will do only the, or in case of a duodenal ulcer, you can plan for the gastrojejunostomy. Okay, for the diversion, you can plan for the gastrojejunostomy. So this gastrojejunostomy, you take the jejunum through the mesocolon. Okay, so this is transverse colon, and this is transverse mesocolon. You create an opening in the transverse mesocolon and take the jejunum. Okay, take the jejunum through this window, and you just anastomose with the posterior wall of the stomach. Okay, so this is called a retrocolic gastrojejunostomy. Retrocolic gastrojejunostomy. Okay, so whenever there is an herniation in this through this window, it is called as Stammer's hernia. Okay, so this is Stammer's hernia. It's a type of internal hernia. All other these hernias are external hernia. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. Identify the instrument. Okay. Okay. Okay, Tamil Selvi, Vishwanath, Lavanya. Okay, good. Tamil Mani. Okay, so you all know the answer, but I will explain in detail about this retractor. Okay, so as you told, this retractor is it is called as Joel's retractor. It is Joel's retractor. Okay, so you see this is a specimen of the thyroidectomy, that is total thyroidectomy. You can see the both lobes and isthmus, and you can see this instrument. Okay, just holding the specimen. Okay, this retractor is called as Joel's retractor. So what is the use of Joel's retractor is you have to use this retractor particularly when you are doing thyroidectomy surgery. Okay, so what is the incision? Commonly, where will you put an incision? Thyroid incision. This is the neck. This is one aspect of the sternocleidomastoid. This is the right side, and this is the left side sternocleidomastoid. And you got the thyroid cartilage here. Okay, and similarly you got the suprasternal notch here. Okay, the first step of thyroidectomy is you have to make an incision, that is 2-finger breadth. 2-finger breadth, you have to just above that 2-finger breadth, just above the suprasternal notch. This incision is called as collar crease incision. Collar crease incision. So what, after making skin incision, you have to raise the flaps. You have to raise the flaps, upper flap up to the thyroid cartilage, and the lower flap up to the suprasternal notch. Okay, after raising these flaps, so this cut end of the upper flap, and this is the cut end of the lower flap. So you have to hold the flaps in position by this retractor. This is a self-retaining retractor. Okay, you can see in this retractor, you can see this is as like a towel holding. You can see towel holding clamp. Okay, so towel holding forceps. So this one, will hold the one side, it will hold the upper flap, and other side it will hold the lower flap. And you can see this this part that you can use to widen these forceps. Okay, this retractor is called Joel's retractor. Okay, what are the other retractor here? I told about this Sescherny retractor. Sescherny retractor is an S-shaped retractor. Okay, it will be like this. It will be like this. And one side you will have the solid blade, other side you will have the two flanks will be there. So this is ideally useful in all cases of hernia and appendectomy surgery. Similarly, Langenberg retractor is L-shaped. L-shaped. You will have the flat blade on one side, and this is the handle will be there. This is also useful in cases of both appendectomy and hernia surgeries and all these type of general surgery. And this instrument card holding forceps, it looks like a two semicircle. The blades will be two semicircle. If you close the blade, it forms a complete circle. This will hold the spermatic cord structures in case of hernia surgeries. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. Okay, all are true about this condition except. Okay. Okay, what is the answers? First, what is this condition? And what are the Pranav is correct. Okay. Lavanya also correct. Lavanya, Priya. Okay. Vishwanath. Okay. Tamil Selvi. Okay. So you all know this answer. So this is just I'm going to explain about. This is the condition called esophageal atresia. Okay. You can see the atresia. You can see the atresia here. Okay. So this is the esophageal atresia, and you can see the tracheoesophageal fistula. Okay, this condition is esophageal atresia and tracheoesophageal atresia, fistula. Okay, esophageal atresia with tracheoesophageal fistula. Okay, so there are so many types are there in this esophageal atresia with the tracheoesophageal fistula, but this is the commonest type. The commonest type is the esophagus will be forming a blind pouch. You can see that forming a blind pouch, and the distal part of the esophagus will be communicated with the trachea. Okay, so this is called esophageal atresia with the tracheoesophageal fistula. This is the most common type. So first option is drooling and cyanotic episodes are present on the feet because it forms a blind pouch. Whatever the patient is taking, automatically everything will come out and the patient will develop cyanotic episodes. So that is the correct option. And go to the C1, that is the passing the NG tube. So if you pass the NG tube, you can confirm your diagnosis because at one point, certain point, beyond that point, you cannot insert your tube and there will be resistance will be there. And if you take the X-ray and you can confirm that the patient is having esophageal atresia. So that is also correct. And the third one is that it associated with the renal and cardiac defect. So that is also correct. So this anomaly you already know that Vactor anomalies. Okay. So first thing is vertebra anomalies will be there, and A stands for anal atresia. Sorry, anal atresia, and this one C stands for cardiovascular anomalies. C stands for cardiovascular anomalies, and T already we know that it is tracheoesophageal fistula, and E is the esophageal atresia, and R stands for the renal defect, and L stands for the these anomalies. Okay, Vactral anomalies. So these anomalies usually will be associated with the tracheoesophageal fistula and the esophageal atresia. Okay, so and this answer, this is a resection of the trachea, is a treatment of choice. That is a wrong one because what is the treatment? Ideal treatment is, what you have to do is, okay, you do thoracotomy. The procedure, what you have to do is thoracotomy. Okay, so and thoracotomy, and then you can first you close the fistula, tracheal fistula, tracheal fistula. You have to closure of the tracheal fistula. This is, you have to do it to the closure here, and then anastomosis of the esophagus to esophagus. You have to do the anastomosis. So that is the treatment for the tracheoesophageal fistula with esophageal atresia. So it is not the resection of the trachea. Okay, I'll go to the next question. All are true about this condition except. So what is the answer? We see the chat box. So what is this condition? First, this is lymphedema. What you are seeing is the lymphedema. So what is the answer? Nobody is responding. Okay, we'll go for the discussion. Okay, so this condition, this condition is the lymphedema. Okay, lymphedema. What you are seeing in this picture is the lymphedema. So lymphedema, there are some signs will be there. The number one is the Stemmer sign. Stemmer sign, which is nothing but subcutaneous fibrosis. Subcutaneous fibrosis. Because of the edema, the subcutaneous tissues will go for the fibrosis. So what do you try to pick? Try to pinch the skin in this over this region. You can't able to pinch the skin. That is called Stemmer sign. That is subcutaneous fibrosis. Okay, and we'll go to the C option, squaring of the toes. Okay, that is characteristically seen in lymphedema. You can see that the toes will be, it will be like this square. It appears like a square. Okay, this is squaring of the toes. And the last one is the buffalo hump. You can see in this picture also, you can see this is a buffalo hump, because the lymphedema characteristically involves the dorsum of the foot. So because of the edema, it produces buffalo hump. Okay, the answer for this question is, it typically involves the whole leg. Okay, it is not typically, it won't involve the whole leg. It typically involves the foot. So that is the answer. Okay, even the lymphedema can present up to the knee. Beyond that, you don't get usually. Okay, so the typical involvement is the foot. Typical involvement is the foot, not the whole leg. Okay, so this is the answer for this question. This is lymphedema. Okay, we'll go for the next question. This is the last question. Laparoscopic view of the inguinal canal. What is the diagnosis? Answers. Pranav, Vishwanath, okay. Akshaya. Okay. So even if it is wrong, also you can try to put some response. Okay. Tamil Mani, a lot of mixed responses from B and D. C also I'm getting. Okay. So I will go for the discussion. This is a basic anatomical question. Laparoscopic view of the inguinal canal. Okay. So many times we discussed about this inguinal canal anatomy, but you should know that how to identify whether it is a direct, indirect femoral or obturator hernia. Okay, so I will explain with the picture here. Okay, here, okay, so what you are seeing, this is the first, I will tell you that landmarks, what you are seeing, okay, so this structure, This structure is, this blue color structure is the inferior epigastric vessels. Okay, this structure is inferior epigastric vessels. Okay, before that I will tell you that anatomy. Okay, so if this is the anterior abdominal wall, you are seeing from inside, you are seeing from inside through the laparoscope. This is an anterior abdominal wall. You got three ligaments or folds. Okay, so this is the one, this is the one, it is called median umbilical ligament. Okay, this is called a median umbilical ligament, which is nothing but obliterated urachus. Okay, next one on both the sides, this is, you will see in the midline. Okay, next one you will see on the right side as well as on the left side. This structure is called as medial umbilical ligament, which is nothing but obliterated umbilical artery. And then you got another fold. This is, instead of ligament, you can call it as fold. So this fold is called as lateral umbilical fold. Lateral umbilical fold. On both the sides you will have this lateral umbilical fold. Okay, so this is the lateral umbilical fold. It consists of inferior epigastric vessels. Okay, so that's the thing I just marked here. This is the structure, inferior epigastric vessels. Okay, and you can see that this is the, okay, I'll just this structure is the vas deferens. Okay, what you are seeing, this is the vas deferens, and just this one is the gonadal vessels. Okay, this is the triangle of Doom, what you are seeing. So this part is the triangle of Doom, and this is the inferior epigastric vessel. Okay, we already know that the relation between the inferior epigastric vessel and deep inguinal ring, DAR. Okay, here what you are seeing, this is the deep inguinal ring. This is the deep inguinal ring, and you got the, so inferior epigastric vessels will be present medially and deep inguinal ring will be present laterally. So that is a usual anatomical position of inferior epigastric vessels. Okay. So this inferior epigastric vessel, deep inguinal ring, and this is the vas deferens, gonadal vessels, and this one is the triangle of Doom. Okay, so the direct, how will you identify direct? You already know in open inguinal hernia also, anything that is a, this is the lateral umbilical fold, that consists of inferior epigastric vessels. Anything lateral to that one, that is called indirect inguinal hernia. We all know that indirect inguinal hernia will come through the deep inguinal ring. Okay, and anything comes in between the medial and the lateral umbilical fold, anything that comes in the medial and lateral umbilical fold, that is called as direct inguinal hernia. Okay, direct, that is a direct inguinal hernia. Okay, so in this the answer is the, so you can see that this is the lateral umbilical fold because it is an inferior epigastric vessels just medial to that one, and this is the, and this structure is the medial umbilical ligament. So in between that you are getting the defect. What you are seeing, this is the defect. Outpouching will be there, and this defect in between the medial and lateral umbilical fold, that is called as direct inguinal hernia. Okay, so this, if you get anything here through this, that is so you get anything here that is through the deep inguinal ring, then this one is the indirect inguinal hernia. Okay, the femoral hernia and obturator will be here. Obturator will be here, and femoral will be, you see that this is the content of the external iliac vessels. You will have the femoral will be lying in this location. Just you have to go deeper. Okay, in this picture it is not visible, but you have to go deeper. Here also femoral and as well as the obturator. Okay, so this is based on the inferior epigastric vessel, as like an open hernia. You have to identify. Okay, so the answer for this question is the direct inguinal hernia. Direct inguinal hernia because that is present in between the medial umbilical ligament and lateral umbilical fold. That is the answer for this question.